Why do dogs wag their tails? It's not just happiness. A dog races toward its owner, tail swinging so hard that its whole body seems to dance. We see that scene every day, and most of us think exactly the same thing. That dog is happy. But here's the mystery. Dogs can also wag their tails when they're nervous. Some wag while facing a rival. Others even wag moments before they bark aggressively. If wagging doesn't always mean happiness, then why do dogs do it at all? The answer turns out to be far more fascinating than a simple sign of joy. Every wag is part of a conversation, one that dogs have been perfecting for thousands of years, and one that humans often misunderstand. It's easy to see why we make that mistake. We naturally compare a wagging tail to a human smile. When a dog greets us with bright eyes and a rapidly moving tail, it certainly looks like pure excitement. But imagine trying to understand every human emotion only looking at someone's hands. A wave could mean hello, goodbye, celebration, or even desperation. Without the rest of the body, the message is incomplete. The same is true for dogs. A tail never speaks alone. The ears, the eyes, the posture, the muscles, and even the situation all work together. A loose, sweeping wag with a relaxed body tells a very different story from a stiff, high tail with tense muscles. Both tails may be moving, yet the emotions behind them could be completely different. That raises a much bigger question. If wagging isn't simply a sign of happiness, what is it actually saying? Scientists now believe the key isn't happiness at all. It's emotional arousal. That may sound technical, but the idea is simple. Emotional arousal is how activated or emotionally engaged an animal is. Think about yourself before giving a speech, opening a surprise gift, or spotting someone you haven't seen in years. Those feelings aren't all the same, but they all make your body more alert. Dogs experience something similar. When a dog becomes emotionally engaged, whether through excitement, curiosity, uncertainty, or even tension, the tail often joins the conversation. Instead of expressing one specific emotion, wagging reflects that something important is happening inside the dog's mind. The details of the wag begin to matter. A broad, relaxed wag that seems to ripple through the hips often appears during friendly interactions. A faster, tighter wag might signal excitement or anticipation. A high, stiff tail can suggest confidence or alertness, while a lower tail moving cautiously may reflect uncertainty. No single movement provides the whole answer. It's more like reading an entire sentence than recognizing one word. Researchers have discovered something even stranger. Not all tail wags are perfectly symmetrical. In several experiments, dogs tended to wag slightly more toward the right side of their bodies when seeing something positive, like their owner returning home. In situations involving unfamiliar or potentially threatening dogs, the wagging often shifted slightly toward the left. These aren't absolute rules. Not every dog behaves this way every time, but the pattern appeared often enough to catch scientists' attention. Why would that happen? The answer may lie inside the brain. Like human brains, dogs' brains are divided into two hemispheres, each specializing in different types of processing. Because each side of the brain mainly controls the opposite side of the body, changes in emotional processing may subtly influence which direction the tail favors. Even more remarkable, other dogs seem to be able to notice these tiny differences. Experiments suggest that dogs respond differently when watching another dog's left-biased or right-biased wagging. As if they're not just seeing a moving tail, they're reading emotional information hidden within the movement itself. Imagine carrying on conversations using tiny differences in the direction of a hand wave. That's the level of subtlety scientists are beginning to uncover. And they suspect there's still much more to learn. Exactly how much information dogs encode through their tails remains an open question. Researchers are still exploring the brain mechanisms behind different wagging patterns and how dogs interpret these signals so quickly. But perhaps the biggest surprise isn't about modern dogs, it's about wolves. Because wolves are the ancestors of domestic dogs, you'd expect them to wag their tails just as often. They don't. Wolves certainly can wag their tails, especially in social situations within the pack, but they do so far less frequently than dogs. The difference is so noticeable that researchers began asking if something changed during domestication. To test the idea, scientists compared hand-raised wolf pups with hand-raised dog puppies. Raised under similar conditions, the puppies still wagged far more than the wolves. That suggests the difference isn't simply about upbringing. Something happened during thousands of years living alongside humans. Exactly what happened remains one of the most intriguing mysteries of domestication. One possibility is that frequent tail wagging emerged as an unintended side effect of selecting the friendliest, least feared animals. As humans repeatedly chose calmer wolves to live nearby, changes in behavior may have spread together, including more expressive tail movements. Another possibility is even more surprising. Perhaps humans unconsciously preferred animals that wagged more. A rhythmic, visible tail is incredibly easy for people to notice. It makes an animal seem approachable, expressive, and emotionally connected. If early humans naturally trusted those individuals more, they may have unknowingly favored dogs whose tails communicated more clearly. Neither explanation has been proven. Both remain scientifically plausible. But either way, the result is extraordinary. Over thousands of generations, dogs became one of the most visually expressive animals on Earth. In fact, humans respond so strongly to wagging that engineers designing social robots sometimes imitate the movement. Add a gently wagging tail to a machine, and people often perceive it as friendlier, even though they know it's not alive. That's how deeply this signal has become wired into our instincts. Yet even after thousands of years together, dogs still manage to fool us. We see movement and assume happiness. The dog may be saying something far more complicated. It could be inviting play, feeling uncertain, greeting a friend, watching a stranger, preparing to defend itself. We're experiencing several emotions at once. The tail offers clues, but never the whole story. The next time you see a dog wagging, resist the urge to judge the tail by itself. Look at the ears, watch the eyes, notice the posture, pay attention to the situation. Suddenly, what seemed like a simple movement becomes part of a rich, silent language. That familiar wag isn't just a happy reflex, it's a message, shaped by evolution, refined through thousands of years beside humans, and understood best when viewed as part of an entire conversation. Once you start seeing every wag as communication instead of celebration, you'll realize your dog's tail has probably been talking to you all along. You just needed to learn its language.